Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Marc, Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And today, we are asking the question of, can we talk about Target and what's going on over there in all things commercialism? Happy June, by the way, Fuller.
Happy June?
Happy June. We'll talk about why it's important in this episode. So you ready?
Let's go. We're taking back June. Kind of.
Okay, so, which side note, before we jump in, let's just call a spade a spade. This is our first time together, guys, in literally 3 months.
February 18th, I think, was the last time we were together to record. Today, time of recording is May 26th.
May 26th. So, unlike all the other episodes, we're like, hey, this is 3 months out. This is 3 months out.
Like right around the corner.
right around the corner, man.
Yeah, this is like a couple weeks.
This is wild.
But
we're back in the studio. We've already messed up.
Back in the saddle. Yeah, well,
I messed up.
It's a tiny. We're knocking the rust off. That's all it is.
But
it's
like
just
for reals though.
It wasn't that bad.
We were like, why isn't this working? Oh, we got to plug it in. We pulled up the HDMI cable. Why is this covered in dust? Oh, because we haven't seen this thing in 3 months.
When you pulled up, you were like picking cobwebs off.
It was so bad, but
I came in here and cleaned out all the cobwebs today because I haven't been in the studio since we stopped recording. I was like, oh, let me get all this cleaned up.
Which means an entire part of Fuller's house has been going unused.
It has, and it needs to. Well, I mean, other than like shipping out, coming down, and putting together swag bags, because all of our swag bags.
Whoa, wait, our Bible stash is dwindling.
It's starting to dwindle a little bit, which is a good thing. That means that many of you listeners have requested a Bible because you were in need. So we're going to be having to put an order in. But even worse, our swag bag inventory is low. I got to put an order in for swag bag stuff. I re-upped our business cards and our stickers.
We might need to get a
and our
sponsor
magnets. Again. But yeah, we're getting low on swag bags. And what else is coming right around the corner here in another month and a half? Revive Fest.
Matt
you almost messed it up.
Revive Fest.
Formerly known as in Gedi, where yours truly will be putting on a workshop and other
We're doing a lot
roles.
more fun things.
Yeah, lots of fun things. And I know some of you are already planning on being out there with us, and we're looking forward to it. I don't know what we're doing yet, but we got to talk about that.
We're doing something. We're doing a workshop. I'm doing a workshop.
You're doing a small church media podcast.
And we're doing stuff on the main stage.
Supposed to be. We need to really
we probably should text you, Matt.
Touch base with Matt.
We probably should touch base. But we haven't been able to touch base on a lot of things because life over the last 3 months has been wild.
All right. So last time we were recording, Lennox was yet to be born. He is hence been born.
Yep. And if you're in the part of the Facebook group, you guys been keeping up with that.
Yeah, you kind of have that general idea. But for those who aren't part of the Facebook group, Mark, why don't you fill us in on all the exciting things that he brought into the world?
A lot of crap hit a lot of fans. Let's just put it that way. Man, so if you guys been listening, you guys know he's had what's called congenital heart defect. And we found out after he was born that he had something called Shone's complex. And so what Shone's complex is there's basically, Beth is going to correct me because I'm probably going to get this wrong. So babe, fix us in the group chat, in Facebook group and everything.
Give him a little grace here. A little mercy.
It's Beth. She ain't giving me nothing. So, well, that's not true, but let's say appropriate. So for Shone's... We're back. So for Shone's complex, there's basically 5 issues that could be wrong on the left side of the heart, and any combination of those 4 out of 5 equals Shone's. Now, the really cool thing is, as crazy as all the intricacies of the heart is, the guy who wrote the book on how to diagnose and treat Shone's complex.
His name isn't Shone's?
No, I don't think so. But he is at Riley Children's Hospital, which I'm proudly wearing my Riley's Children's Hospital t-shirt. So if you're on YouTube, you see Riley with the kids in like red wagons. That's their brand.
And if you don't know what Riley is,
it's one of the best children's hospital in the nation.
Yeah, go look it up.
I think that they were number 6.
Yeah,
this year. I think last year they were 5 of like top children's hospitals like in the nation or something like. I mean, like you can't beat like John Hopkins and Mayo and.
But it's up there.
But the fact that it's in Indianapolis, so we only have to drive 2.5 hours.
The fact that it's less than 3 hours away.
And they have like so basically the guy who who wrote the book on how to diagnose it, figure it out, and treat it is at Riley and oversaw everything that happened with Lennox.
That's awesome.
And so we were very, very blessed for that. But so anywho, so we went down. Beth was induced because he couldn't go. They wanted to get him to a specific point, but not go any past, so that way his heart is as in the best place it can be without actually potentially doing more damage to the womb. So Beth was induced. We were hanging out at the hospital playing cards. I brought my own coffee and my own pour over with the clever drip.
It was pretty fun. I'm like,
awesome.
I have rubbed off on you too much, sir.
It was so great. It was awesome because I never had bad coffee at the hospital, but it was awesome. I had some bad pour overs. That's my fault. But anywho, so we were there and things were happening, and Beth had to be whatever the terminology is for being medically stop your labor.
She was induced, and then they had to stop the
uninduced.
Yeah.
Paused.
Repaused, induced.
I don't know. So because every time that she would have a contraction, his heart rate would drop and then it would come back up.
Question, did you tell her pause? Did you do the whole pause? Or no?
I like living. I like my life. I like living.
Anyway, sorry.
We had a talk. We made a section. We're going to go for we have to go a C-section. That's just what it is. And so, but they took her back. I get my little scrubbies on, feeling like I'm in Grey's Anatomy, ready to rock and roll. And I'm just sitting there in the lobby doing nothing.
So not like
I was just sitting. No, that's but I mean, I had to scrub up and get my elbows and use the fancy sinks. I'm not like, ooh, this is just like Grey's or ER, which we've been watching ER lately.
Yes, that's the throwback.
We've been binging.
I love it.
It's awesome. But so we get back there and come to find out he flipped breech on Beth.
That's crazy.
And so when they did the C-section, first off, it was traumatic going in because her contraction happened. His heart rate went down just like normal, but it never came back up. And so they apparently threw her back on the table and were starting to cut her open before they even had the C-section sheets put up.
Yeah, and Janelle would be like...
So Janelle's tracking this.
Yeah, she would be like...
Because you guys went through some crap with Noelle.
Yeah, but she would need therapy after that experience. Just from the experience she had with Noelle was traumatic enough. I cannot even imagine what she'd be like.
Beth was apparently being moved all over because they were going aggressive on it because... Lennox flipped breech, so when they went to pull out his head like they thought they were supposed to, his butt came out.
Do you think maybe that's why the heart rate never came back up? Is because he was breached? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
I wonder if that's why.
I mean, Elliot had. I remember Elliot had, obviously not with Beth, but Elliot had a lot of issues with his heart rate dropping too. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a genetic thing from my side. I don't know. But so his breech, they had to do a really aggressive T cut. Apparently, that's what it's called. So instead of straight across, they had to go up. So she can net, which we're not having any more kids. 8 is plenty. What's that
old saying? 8 and skate, man. 8 and skate, baby.
I've never heard of that. I'm gonna use that. 8 and skate, baby. We good. So it's always funny because after you have 3 kids, and do you really want more? You have 3, and then when you have 8, they're like, hey, why don't just go for 10?
Go for the dozen. Go for the.
It's like,
8
guys,
skate, baby.
8 is 4 times more than the national average of kids.
Just 8 and skate, baby.
And I have 4 times the stress and anxiety. But anywho, so that happened. They pulled her out. So basically, her uterus is all right now. In terms of if
they're small children, you might want to turn this down.
If she, no, this is biology. So so if she ever gets pregnant, can never have a natural birth again, which is very common with a lot of C-sections that are more T-cut or emergency. But also she can never go past a certain week mark or her uterus will explode. So that's pretty wild. So after that happened, he was carted away. We didn't see him for 8 hours, and they found out that his heart was actually worse in a lot of areas than other ones. So the first day of after surgery is always the hardest, but he almost had to be put on what's called ECMO, which basically is like a breathing machine. It costs $500,000 to turn the switch on. They bill you $500,000 for flipping the switch on. And so they have I think it's 7 or 8 ECMO machines in the entire unit. Over the course of that week, they used all of them but one.
Wow.
And apparently that one was lined up for Lennox, I guess. But so thankfully, it was a bad day, and the last ditch effort for medication to get him for his blood pressure and his heart to work like it should happened at the final hour. So we were really blessed for that. But yeah, we were at the hospital for a total of a whole month. We were there together for 2 weeks. I came back, took care of the kids when Beth was there. Then we flip-flopped a couple times and brought him back home. And ever since then, man, I mean, we have to do a lot with his NG tube to feed him, gravity feed. We've been dealing with reflux and weight issues, and he can't get sick, so he had a slight fever, so we had to rush him to the ER, so that was exciting.
Yeah, so basically, I've seen you one time for about 3 minutes tops.
I just picked something up, didn't I? Or dropped something off?
You picked up your kids, man.
Oh, that's right. Janelle watched them for me.
Because we've been trying to stay away as much as possible because we don't want to expose them to germs.
Our kids can barely hold their baby brother.
Right, so everybody I know around you has been trying to be real careful with him right now until he gets a little older.
He finally got a couple vaccines. I don't remember which ones, but he And it's not just a simple fact of like, oh, like, anti-vax, vax, whatever. Like, oh, a kid gets sick, whatever. It's the fact of his heart is working so hard just to live that any form of sickness could set it over the top and send him into heart failure.
Well, it's like, so Lennox has been around for 3 months now.
Yep.
And I still
he's freaking cute.
I still have never seen him in person.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 months. And I would consider myself.
No one's even allowed to touch him.
I would consider myself a good friend.
100%.
But
100%.
Yeah, that's how serious it is right now with him and trying to keep him healthy.
Like the only people that have actually held Lennox outside of our immediate family, and obviously, like, my mom, because she has to watch him some, is I think our kindergarten teacher for Nora, because Beth really had to go to the bathroom, and it is what it is.
Sorry.
And then Uncle Devin. Yeah, I think that's it, because Uncle Devin comes over every Wednesday. We were building that big old playground I don't think did I even put that in the Facebook group of what I was working on, that playground?
I can't remember if it was on your personal or if you did put it in the group.
Now you see, you got it. I think your kids have been over there since we had the playground up.
They were there last week.
Last week, yeah. And so so I've been building a playground in the midst of all this too. So that's been my release. It's been great. But so anywho, so right now what we're looking at is we're trying to figure out his feeds, and he throws up all the time, but thankfully Beth just said that. And the other thing that's hard is like everyone bounces us around for answers. Insurance has been a nightmare. Doctors have been a nightmare. The only people that have been super, super helpful are Wick and one random speech therapist that we're connected with, and that we happen to get connected with. So there's been a lot of blessings that we're very thankful for. Like we have a cardiologist here in South Bend that's in the Riley's network.
That's awesome.
Like he is a Riley's doctor who happens to live in South Bend, and that doesn't happen. Like Northwest Indiana, we'd be going to University of Chicago. We couldn't go there. So we have a lot of blessings that we have, but it's also hard because, we live so far away from Indy. So right now what we're working on is keeping his weight up, because that's the biggest thing. We have to keep his weight up. We have to watch for fevers. We have to, feel his hands, feel his feet, because if your hands and feet are cold, it could be a sign of you're cold, or your heart's not pumping enough blood to the things. And then we also, I tell you what, dude, I can pop an NG tube in anybody in like 5 seconds. I can pop one of them. If you ever need an NG tube because something happens, bro, I can pop it. And like I actually, my opinion, I did better than the nurses did. So, because the nurses, like, it would get stuck when he was crying, and I'm like, watch this. And I got it.
Like super dad.
Well, I got the touch because I've done, like, every time I have to drop an NG tube, Beth doesn't do it.
Right.
I do it. Doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. because he rips it out, or normal times, your boy does the NG tube. So, but we just do that. We keep feeding him. I feed him every day at 3 in a wrap sling while I work, and I have my other podcast mic stand that holds the gravity feeder.
Right.
And I sit there with him in a wrap with the gravity feed. I'm typing, but right now we're looking down the barrel of which we knew. He had it was called a closed heart surgery at 5 days old. That was where we had to come out of. But now he has an open heart surgery to fix the other 2 of the 4 issues.
And that's coming up in July or August. I can't remember what.
So the 6 month mark is what there is when the time frame starts.
September-ish.
Yes, September-ish. So, but we call it the window. He has a surgery window.
Right.
Because they, as much as possible, want to wait till he's a year old to do all these, because it's aggressive, legit open heart.
But at
surgery.
6 months, he should be strong enough that at least if they had to,
yes,
they could.
But the thing is the two issues that he has. One, they want to surgically repair as closest to the year mark as they can. The other one, they can do it at 6 months.
Right.
But because they don't want to do an open heart at 6 months and open heart a year.
Right.
So they're trying to get them both together. So they're trying to find how close can we get those 2 surgeries together. And then if the one that's supposed to happen in 6 months, like, okay, it's still fine. Let's just keep pushing out till last thing possible, because that ensures that we don't have 2 open heart surgeries, just one. But the main thing we're looking at now is he still has the hole in his heart that has to get repaired. Honestly, it's going to sound weird saying it's no big deal for them to have an open heart surgery and repair that. That repair is no big deal.
So I actually work with a guy who's had a hole in one of his chambers. Since,
it's common.
And
it's
so
really common.
He's in his 60s, and he goes, "Yeah, I've lived a pretty good." He goes, "I didn't even know about it until I was like 60 years old." Yeah. And they found it, and it's like, "Wow, that's crazy."
It's common. I don't remember what the percentage was, but like even my nephews on Beth's side, both of them were born with holes in their heart, but they closed up on their own or enough where they're like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, that's what I couldn't believe how common it was.
It's common.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
It's common. And so when you see a lot of these like football players and soccer players, high school, college, pro, whatever, just drop because of cardiac arrest, a lot of times that's one of the issues. But the other thing is it's called the mitro something valve. Well, it's just short for the mitoid valve. So basically the valve at the bottom of the heart that kind of goes to all the parts of the body.
Right.
You're supposed to have a tricuspid valve, and it like the 3 and it like opens and closes, but his is only 2. And so what they have to do is they either have to repair it or replace it. If they repair it, it's going to be fine for pretty much the rest of his life. I mean, he's always going to have a cardiologist. He's always going to have blood pressure medication.
Always going to have to be watchful.
Yes, he's always. I mean, but he can still play sports potentially with this. But if he has to get it repaired, though, he has to go in for an open heart surgery like every 2 years until he's a full-fledged grown adult. So he could have like 9. I mean, maybe I'm looking at this too much, Beth, let me know, but he could have up to like 9 surgeries before he's 18 if they have to repair, or if they have to replace it. Yeah. And then when he's an adult, I think it's like up to 10 years.
Wow.
And so like as an adult, every 10 years, he has to have an open heart surgery. So we're really praying right now just for that. It's a repair not a replacement.
Right.
So we're still not out of the woods yet, but supposedly once the second, and we talked to a lot of, I mean, we've met so many people, but apparently after this surgery, if it all goes well and everything's normal, he's going to feel, look, function like a normal baby within no time. So
that's awesome.
I mean, again, normal's not the answer. We're not trying to go for normal. We're trying to go for just living right now.
Listen, normal's boring. You guys are the Hydes.
See,
you guys don't do normal.
No, this kid was like, wait, so all y'all kids got your own traumas? Bruh, I'm going to bring my own.
He's like, I call and I raise.
But seriously, though, like every one of our kids has a traumatic experience. And now we're dealing with, like, our kids can't even hold their brother because he can't be sick. Now, I will say it's nice to just say, like, no, you can't hold your brother because there's so many of them that are always like, can I hold? But it sucks because we have to tell our kids, no, you can't hold your brother so many times because it's also
that's hard.
They can only hold him in like a 20-minute window because of feeding, so he doesn't throw up everything. And then even more than that, like the kids, because like they're kids, they hold them, they jostle them, they move them, they squish them, they move them so much that he will also barf no matter what time it is. So it's not even just like a normal situation where it's like, oh yeah, you want to hold your brother, you can hang out with him, you can rub his head. It's like you can't, like he can't get sick, or if he gets sick, we're going back to Indy.
Yeah.
And so it's a sad reality for some of the kids. Some of the kids, I mean, Elliot still is like, dude, I got another brother. I don't give a rip what's going on.
He's like, I'm not the only boy now.
So like today when I left, I said, bye girls, bye Elliot and Lennox. I can say
boys,
bye girls, bye guys. And I can like legitimately say that because we have 2 boys. And he goes, yeah. So he loves it, man.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, so
cool.
Yeah, so that's what's up with the Hyde. So I'm wearing my Riley shirt intentionally to kind of show the peoples what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a heck of a lot more stuff has been going on with the Hydes, but that's the Lennox update.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, it's sad, but it's cool too to see how God has brought you guys not only closer together as a family, husband and wife, but also brought this little boy.
Oh, but it's been freaking hard on me and Beth, man.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
It's been hard,
but he's sustaining you, right? And that's the cool thing, that to be able to see that Lennox is here, right? You guys have him. You're able to spend time with them, and something else didn't. God didn't take him away. When he was born, with everything that you were telling me before the podcast, that it could have happened.
There was, and so everyone was like, to this day, people are like, "So are you okay from your birth, Beth?" And she goes, I was until you asked that question.
Right. So it's just cool. It's cool how God has sustained you guys. And even though you guys got a long journey ahead, how God is continuing to walk with you through this journey. So I think
we've met
awesome.
So many cool people along the way, man. And we've been able to share our faith. I mean, we intentionally said we will be the favorites on any hall that we're put on for. I said that. Beth is just always the favorite. But I said, we will be the favorites. And so like we would have nurses and doctors like just come and sit and hang out.
You're like, hey, you want a cup of coffee?
But seriously, I offered all of them coffee. We had candy off the freaking zoo. And it was at the point that, like, most doctors kind of pop in, check, and go. They would, like, after they would do their rounds, they would come back and just hang out with me.
That's awesome.
And apparently most doctors, here's just a little tidbit. If you're in the hospital, doctors focus so much on other people. Rarely do they ever get to talk about their own lives. And so once I say, so what's your story? How'd you end up in, like, Indianapolis? And some people are like, oh, I grew up local. So then you have those conversations, or it's like, well, I'm a traveling nurse. And so you get into those conversations. Right. So if you're ever in the hospital and hanging out, just talk about them, man, because those nurses, they get yelled at, they get screamed at, they get sued, they get all these different things, literally, and they're not humans. Like, nurses aren't humans for people who are sick and
most of them do it because they love to help people.
100%. So, but at the end of the day, man, they humans. So that's my takeaway. If you learn nothing else from this episode, be kind to your nurses.
Well,
because they could kill you.
So
no, but just be kind to them.
Okay, I don't know how to transition. They can kill you.
Welcome back.
The last time we got together, real fast before because we're at the 20-minute mark, Sabrina.
You know, Beth told me, she's like, you guys got to stop with the stupid time thing. Because all of us people have been listening for years. We expect you to go a minute on 20 minutes. So when you say it's been 22 minutes, we're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, but it's for the new people.
It's our brand. That's what I told Beth.
It's for the new people.
That's what I told Beth.
And listen, it's like meatloaf. You got to mention it at least once.
And Madam Secretary and the Chosen.
Anyways, so last time we were together, I was getting ready to go to vacation. So, I found you a little something.
Wait, what?
I got you a little.
Shut up. Has it been hiding?
It's been hiding.
You didn't bring it down. Has that been hiding?
So I found these and I thought of you.
Dude, shut up.
Little Bob Ross.
What the actual heck?
And they're not from Target.
Bro. That's what, dude, you can.
Yes, I knew you'd wear them. I knew you'd wear them. So the little inside joke that's been running for years is that Mark looks like Bob Ross.
Well, right now my hair's looking fresh.
You're looking sleek tonight. But typically when he grows out the fro, he's like straight up Bob Ross's child.
I bet Bob Ross for Halloween, man.
So that's been the running joke for a lot of years.
For those watching YouTube, I keep looking at myself on the camera on the monitor rather than the camera. So
did you see the bottom though? Let's get crazy.
Let's get crazy. But you can. So they're Bob Ross socks, happy paint with some happy trees, but.
It's got the fro that you can feel.
There's fuzzy, like the fuzzy sock material for his hair and his beard. This is freaking awesome.
So there you go. That's a little something from Tennessee.
Hopefully they fit my feet because that's awesome. Fits shoe size 8 to 13. Perfect.
See, I knew it.
I didn't really think about this until I accidentally bought socks that were just slightly too small, and I'm like, apparently you have to have a sock size. Okay, that sucks.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you.
So. Something else we got from Tennessee was
you got me something else?
Well, no, it's the coffee we're drinking. See, this is how I was transitioning. I do go to socks and then to the
Actually,
coffee.
That's not true because I have another gift over there. Janelle made me sourdough bread.
And what else do we got here?
And M&M. So talk about the coffee first.
All right, so I'll bring up the coffee.
We got our Yetis.
So we got the Yetis. I got the Chosen. You got your just straight up Yeti.
I didn't feel like paying for my company logo because it was like $30.
Mine's off-brand Yeti, I guess. I don't know if it's actually Yeti.
No,
because
you have to have a Yeti.
Yeah,
we went legit. This was our hey, Beth bought one for herself because it actually works apparently, and it does. This cup's amazing.
So we're drinking something called Gold Rush from Frontier Coffee Company in Tennessee, and it's a light roast Guatemalan blend, and it's
so
really
good. Now,
it's very good.
I mean, the biggest difference between you and me with coffee is I tend to make mine middle scale. Mine's always slightly weak. And yours is always slightly on the stronger side, like always.
That's because I live with Janelle, and Janelle's like, give me the dark burnt roast as strong as you can.
That was Beth until this is all she gets to drink.
And it's like...
We still drink half calf every day, though. Since we started doing that when she was pregnant. We still do it because I can have more coffee throughout the whole day.
He's like, I could drink more.
Think about it. I can have 4 cups instead of 2. That's big time.
That is true.
But so this coffee is from Gatlinburg,
I bought it
right?
in Gatlinburg.
Gatlinburg?
Yep.
Now, is it like a legit... coffee company that's like a local? Is it like a touristy trap? Like
it was a off the beaten track coffee house where I bought it from. And I don't know,
branding is stinking cool.
I don't know if so I forget, it wasn't there. It was a different name for this coffee house.
Okay.
Than Frontier Coffee Shop. So I think they just buy the Frontier coffee, but it was really good because that's the coffee she uses. And so it was legit. We went in there and had some coffee, and I was like, I gotta get me some beans, and so we're drinking.
You can buy the Frontier, which you have, the Frontier Legend 4-pack.
Yeah,
which is like let's see,
we're back on the wagon train.
Oh, there's a Davy Crockett blend.
Yep, I didn't get that, so I got the Lewis and Clark, which is the dark roast.
Yep,
and then we got the Gold Rush from them.
There's an Annie Oakley.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't see that one.
What else we got? We got the Gold Rush, which that's what we're drinking. We have Wild Bill.
Hey, it's Wild Bill. Where's Billy the Kid?
That's awesome.
So it's good.
But this is some good stuff, man. It's
very good.
Because it's. I remember when I first smelled it, I was like, "Ooh, it's kind of like a bit of a breakfast blend."
It is,
but it's not. When you drink it, it's not a.
It's more of a dessert coffee.
Yeah, which I thought was weird.
It's airy and
but it's not
very
fruity.
Nice on the palate. It's not fruity.
It's not fruity.
It's just very.
So it has a little bit of
light.
earthy to it.
It's very light and it's nice on the palate.
Which honestly makes sense with the type of branding that they had because they had like the Wild Wild West brand. Like those.
It's the Frontier.
Because people don't always see. You should post your coffee display to the Facebook group because you have like all your mason jars and you always cut out the front of the bags and tape them on. Like,
I do.
But this like fits the aesthetic of Janelle's kitchen.
It totally does. It's like it lines right up.
You sent me the
with
picture.
everything.
I'm like, that looks like you guys printed these pictures for your kitchen, but nope, that's just the brand.
That's just the brand.
I've been drinking this coffee I bought from Home Goods, which I never trust coffee from Home Goods ever.
The Red Rooster.
The Red Rooster. So
Yeah,
I found
they're good
Red Rooster coffee. I smelt it Because I always want to smell their coffee. So
Sure.
I'm like, once in a while you
Try
find
to
it.
smell it through the breathing.
So I smelled it, and all of a sudden I'm like, this is craft coffee. I could smell the craft coffee because you trained me, homie. So I smelled it, and I went, holy crap, this is good. I start reading the bag. I go home, I look at the website, and I'm like, this is like $20 a bag, and I bought it for like 6 or 7. And so I'm like, I told Beth, I'm like, it might taste gross. We're gonna throw it away if it's gross.
It's a little stale.
It's a little stale because it's been. I mean, they don't even sell this type of coffee anymore. It's that old.
Right.
But you and I are both like, oh, it's a little stale because basically it just doesn't punch you as hard if it's stale. Like if you drink Folgers, you're used to it. But but I posted in the Facebook group. I'm like, hey guys, if you're trying to like stay on a budget, like being bothered on a budget, check out the Home Goods. Check out the TJ Maxx. Don't buy the flavored coffees. Those are gross.
Yes.
Those are gross from there. You can buy flavored from other places, but those are gross. But once in a while, you could find the actual coffee.
So another place I've been legitimately loving right now is the Toccoa Coffee here in Mishawaka.
I live right by it. I live right by the roaster.
So it's delicious.
Can we get a sponsor from them? Because that'd be awesome. They're local, man.
Yeah, you never know.
That'd be dope.
I mean, I got to talk to the owner for a couple hours.
I've only had Toccoa once, though.
It's really
They
good.
just opened up a coffee shop in Granger.
I know. That's where I met the owner.
You
Jeff.
met? Okay.
Jeff's the owner. But we need to go have coffee there and have a conversation with Jeff about some things. So maybe we'll get around to that later on. All right.
You brought something else to the show. Should we talk about this next episode?
No. I didn't bring it. I didn't bring it to the show.
I apparently guilted Janelle about her eating the rest of my M&Ms.
Somebody was like, oh, it's so bad that Janelle ate all of my M&Ms, and how dare she? And he didn't tell the other half of the story where he's like, I told Janelle that she could eat my M&Ms. But she left that part out.
Because it's not funny when I do the second part.
She goes,
it's not funny.
She goes, I even asked him, I'm sorry, do you want me to buy you another bag? And he's like, no, it's all good.
Not.
And then he called me out on a podcast, and I'm like, that is too funny.
So Janelle replaced our coffee M&Ms, but these are not coffee.
These are what?
Caramel cold brew M&Ms.
Oh, they smell good.
So I'm going to see what this is like.
It's got caramel in it.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm not a big fan of caramel in my chocolate because it's gooey. And it hurts my teeth.
It's good, though.
It tastes really yummy.
Anyways.
Sorry you got here to smack our mouth. I got one more to eat. I mean, it's really yummy, but I would eat this because there's enough chocolate and M&M and not all the caramel.
Well,
like actually eating actual caramels or butterscotch, I can't. Wow, I'm like salivating from the mouth.
I'm getting a good cold brew flavor there at the end.
I haven't had it yet.
It's there. It's very subtle.
It's kind of like a bit of it's like a burnt cold brew taste.
Yeah, almost.
It's almost like it's burnt. Like, but that's. I mean, it's from Starbucks probably. So,
Anyways,
so tonight we are actually drinking coffee, folks.
Coffee.
Even though you have to go to bed crap early because you got to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
We got our nice little Yetis. We have had our M&Ms, and now we're going to talk about our wives' favorite store.
Well, I don't know.
Is it actually Janelle's anymore? It's Beth's.
I don't know if it's.
You know why? You know why it's our favorite?
No, why?
Curbside pickup.
That's probably the only thing that Janelle loves about it.
I love Cat and Jack brand for kids' clothes. I love me some Cat and Jack. But so
yeah, we don't shop there on a regular basis, but she does love the curbside.
And that's the thing is so jumping into the conversation.
Well, we didn't even read. We got to read the review first, bro.
I forget. See, I'm so out of practice.
Man, it's a short one too. All right, I'll read it real fast, and then you can set it up. Think about how you're setting up. All right, it says helpful from Miss 1122. When my mind is empty at work, I make time to put this on so my empty mind can be filled and reminded of the graves and love of God. I think she meant grace and love of God. Great and relatable host with charismatic attitudes towards Christ our Savior. Be healed!
Wow.
Wrong charismatic.
Let the bodies hit the floor. If you've ever seen Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, Benny Hinn edition, is the bodies hit the fly, and then like he whips people with his jacket.
But they also took his jacket and put a lightsaber in his hand and then did the light.
Yes, that's an old. It looks like, and then you put the music over top of it, when Anakin is. What was that? Order 66. What's the order?
Yeah,
Anakin?
Order 60. Order 66.
Wow, that was impressive.
I'm Darth Sidious.
Well, speaking of the Darth Sidious, we're going to talk about the Darth Sidious
next
the conversation.
So we're at 30 minutes. We haven't even jumped into the episode
here's
yet.
The deal, guys. So I'll just be honest. I love Target. Target's probably the main place I shop. I can shut that place down.
Look, we've often said you were Target bougie.
I am Target bougie,
just
which
saying.
means I'm semi-bougie, okay, Jenny? I'm not full bougie. Don't give me that crap in the Facebook group, okay? I'm I am.
That just means you're bougie on a budget.
But like most of my stuff. Normally, you can only now. Thankfully, you can find like Harry's. Now, cause Harry's for shaving or whatnot. Like, I used to be only Target, and so the shampoo I used to be only Target. Like just because that just happened to be where they sold it. So a Target has been a part of my life for a very long time. But in recent news, now it's middle of June that releasing this episode, which is very intentional. But
just a couple of weeks ago,
there was the new Pride merch collection that was dropped at Target. Now, so with the Pride merch collection at Target, this is nothing new. This is very normal over the last, I think they've been doing it for like 10 years, I think, or something like that. So, I mean, every June you'd walk in and they would just have like their Pride section for the stuff. And it's kind of like, okay, you know, it's whatever. Like, I can't expect a non-Christian company to do, like, if Hobby Lobby put up a Pride section, then there would be talk for conversation.
If Chick-fil-A
did it, then we'd have talk for conversation. Like,
Chick-fil-A had a Pride sauce. All right, you might be pushing the boundaries.
That would be because but so you know, you just walk in like, oh, that's a Pride section, whatever. But the same for every season. It's like Christmas, you got Christmas section, Halloween. What? I'm not saying that it's a joke, but it is. But you know, it's more the fact of it always happens every single year because June is Pride Month, where the LGBTQ conversation gets to show their pride, with all the rainbows.
Which to the older generation, right? It is very shocking. But to people like you and I, we've grown up with it because it's been happening so often since we were younger that it just. Not that it shouldn't phase us, but it's like, okay, I'm just not going to shop over there.
And this is the hard thing, too, because I raise a bunch of little girls who love rainbows. But so we do buy some rainbow clothes because there's rainbows. You know?
Noelle's got no rainbow sandals, like dress sandals right now.
And this is
they're cute.
Right, us too. And so
listen, the rainbow is Jesus's, okay?
Actually, I was gonna say this is not the episode. I forgot. So there's an episode a podcast called Pints with Aquinas that I enjoy.
Okay.
And they just kicked out a new like very aggressive shirt about like the same idea as the Ark Encounter, like Take Back the Rainbow or whatever, but they did it in a lot more Gen Z design. And I have to find the shirt next episode. It's hilarious. But
so, anyways, let's dive into more.
So with Target, they've whenever it's June, every brand does the virtue signal of the Pride flag in their Instagram profiles or their website, or they have a Pride collection, whatever, which we're going to talk about. Man, those M&Ms are giving me the burps.
That's the coffee.
We're going to talk about why they do it because I found out through research that it's actually not virtue signaling. It's intentional. So, but this past year, Target recently announced and dropped their brand new Pride line that includes a lot of very aggressive, for lack of a better word, liberal things that people are praising Target about. Because like right now, the biggest thing is like Dylan Mulvaney, like with Bud Light. And I've been following the Dylan Mulvaney saga like all year because that's just been
hilarious.
It has been a hot basket case mess. So I've been following that. I've been following other things about all these different brands or whatnot. But now it's the fact of it used to be like the weird side of TikTok. Like, oh, that's just the weird TikTok. That's the weird Instagram. You don't have to do it. But now it's in front of our faces where Target is starting to sell like tuck underwear. Where it's like if you're a lady with instead of you got a like tuck. So there's now is women's swimsuit apparel that is tuck approved for more comfortable women swimwear. And then there's other things like there's new type and even Target's like these are not for LGBTQ, but the brand who created it flat out say it is what it is.
100%.
And so it's like compression. I think it's like they call them like compression bands or compression bra bands or something like that, where it's like, if you got
hide it.
Yeah, you got to hide.
It's like taping them down.
Yeah, it's hide the breast. It's really what it is. And so it's instead of tape. Yeah. So they're starting to come out with these very aggressive lines that are less about just gay pride and more about they're calling it women's apparel or men's apparel that does this for people who are biologically in their biological genetics is male or female. And now it's not just, it's just gay. It's the fact of we're redefining everything. We're pushing it from the weird sides of society, the fringe of society into the center of so many people's world. And The other thing that's wild about Target is that's where like Chip and Joanna Gaines' main product is. And they are unapologetically Christian, where they got canceled because of that.
Right.
And so you have these people who are like...
And then they made their own network.
Right. We got middle-class fancy people who love me some Target. And all of a sudden it's like, shoot, can we do that now? And then we have the conversations around boycotting and can we boycott it? Should we not? Like we've had that here on the episode about should we stop watching Disney? Should we boycott Starbucks? Should we do all these things? And if you just say, okay, you got to boycott everything that is just out there that we disagree against, you basically go Amish, which is really what Amish is. It's a boycott of life. Not life, but boycott of modern growth society. Yeah. So we're kind of left with this whole question around, okay, so is that really the reason why we should be upset? Okay, there's some, yes, we're living in a very LGBTQ friendly environment and it is what it is. Okay, it's just another swimsuit or whatnot. But then the icing on the cake.
And here's where the nosedive happens.
Now, the nosedive happened with them swimsuits, but
but I'm talking about that's not like hey, we're on the pattern to nosedive, but we're gonna really push it in and take it down.
They hired now I want to make sure we do definitions here because I want to make sure I give not credit. That's very wrong word, but we properly set the stage. But they partnered with an openly satanic artist. Now, Satanist people will say that they don't actually worship Satan in the way that we worship Jesus. He's just a idol that they look to as a source of freedom and rebellion and
he's a
liberty. Kind of like how because we view Satan and demons and Jesus and angels as real life battles and wars going on, because we see that
to certain Satanists,
there are some that do the sacrifices and all that crap, man.
I've met some ex-Satanists.
It's like some weird Wiccan, there's some wild Wiccan stuff out there, man.
This Satanist artist,
he has a lot of Wiccan stuff in his art.
To me, it's like this. Okay,
have you seen his Instagram, by the way?
No. So you have Christians, and then you have hey, yo, I'm Christian, but I'm going to go and sleep with my girlfriend and nothing's wrong with it, right? So you got two sides of people that call themselves. I think it's the same with Satanists. You got a Satanist who actually worships Satan, and then you got a Satanist who's like, well, I like it for the social status of it and the symbolism of it, of freedom and just do what you want. And
I mean, that's why Sam Smith. Sam Hunt did by a back road. Sam Smith, who did the Unholy song. And at the Grammys, dressed up like Satan. So he doesn't worship Satan, but for him, it's a central idea of freedom and rebellion and all these different things. But
to me, they're playing with stuff they don't have any understanding about, and so
it's still bad.
You know my feeling. Look, you don't even want to get anywhere near that,
right? And so they partnered with an openly Satanist artist who creates content that both hates and belittles those who don't ascribe to the worldview. It is blatantly for anything gender affirming and pushing to adults, teens, and kids. So when you look at his artwork, it's not just hey, we're gay and gay pride. This is just who we are, which, to be honest with you, this is going to sound really bad, but if people, especially if they're not Christians, I don't expect you to act like a Christian. If you gay and you have gay pride and rainbows, that doesn't bother me. But when it openly says stuff on the apparel of the fact of don't destroy transphobia, destroy transphobes or stuff like that. I didn't put it that way. Don't quote me on that. But I read a lot of stuff where it's that's not just saying we're now attacking your entire worldview because you are wrong. And so there's so much stuff in this art that includes death and the satanic and the ritual. I mean, there's instead of live, laugh, love, it's live, laugh, lesbian, which I think was absolutely hilarious. I'm like that. So some mom's probably gonna pick that up thinking it's cute and accidentally wear it out, and it's gonna be wild. But there's all these different art where he's openly not just gay and not just okay, we're creating stuff that is for those who are in the LGBTQ lifestyle and world, but now we're actually going not just offering stuff, but we're now attacking everybody else. And so when they partnered with this specific artist, that's when legit all heck broke loose. Mm-hmm. And now I'm not saying do this. I'm not saying this is okay, but there were people that were walking around destroying Targets and destroying signage and removing stuff and taking things and throwing it wherever they wanted to go. I mean, all over social media, there's blast everywhere.
That's kind of
that's called vandalism.
That's called a two wrongs, and they don't make it right. So
and these are the same people that were mad at Black Lives Matter who were vandalizing street corners, and now they're vandalizing Target. But that's besides the point. But there are people out there who are openly physically trying to destroy these things, and so within matters of hours or days, Target removed all that stuff and they say for the safety of our employees and for our own workers, because people are getting so violent about it. To which the left side basically says, y'all just need to sit down and shut up. It's not doing anything to you. To which the right side, and then I should say is the left side is saying to get your Christianese values out of here. And then people on the right side who aren't even Christians are like, bro, this ain't Christian. This is weird. Like, don't do this. Like, it's not just the level of what the argumentation is the fact of it's not just you being gay and living it. It's the fact that you're shoving it down everybody's throat where everyone all of a sudden, if they don't, they say, I don't agree with that. It's like, oh, you hate people and now you're damned forever for the rest of the culture. Like
canceled.
Like that's what it is. Right. And so there's a massive fight going on. And the question is why are all these companies doing this? B, what should Christians do about it? Like, can we talk about this? Like, what's actually happening? And since people are talking about it, I think we need to talk about it. But before we talk about it, though, we have to know that this isn't just a Target issue, though. And I mean, let's just be honest. I think everybody knows this isn't just a Target issue. But lately, it's been a lot more aggressive and in front of people's faces. Like Adidas now is coming out with, and again, it's not like, I don't want to, I'm just going to call spades. It's not like transgenders categories, but it's women's swimsuits.
For men.
No. They're just women's swimsuits because they're not for men. They're for women.
Right. But it's for transgender.
But they're women. And that's the thing.
Which is men.
And so it belittles women's. In my opinion, it actually, like, there's no purpose in having Title IX anymore. There's no talking about the beauty of womanhood. It's what's the word I'm looking for?
It's a destruction of the image of God value that God has placed upon men and women.
Yes, and I agree with that as a Christian, but for even those who aren't Christian, it's the fact of what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word that the left side always says the right does to them?
Dehumanize? Dehumanize women?
It does. It's just the discrimination against women.
Okay, gotcha.
Normal women, because that's not a woman. That's a dude with some junk who wants to be a woman. Also, have you noticed that there's really no famous people that came out of nowhere that went from women to dude? It's always dude who went back to girl. Fun fact. So Target has all this stuff going on. Adidas has come out with this massive line for women, and it's all male models. Like you obviously look at it, it's like, bro, that is a package. That should not be in that. Like that is just weird. And so there's that stuff all over Adidas, like close up on people wearing bras, and the dude got chest hair. Like he ain't a chick. He's a dude. North Face has a wild campaign with, like, I don't know if it's an actual like transgender person or if it's just a drag queen, but like it's like, come out into the woods, because North Face is all about the travel and get out in the outdoors and explore the outdoors. That's what North Face is. And so they have this whole campaign about come out into the woods. It's clever. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. In marketing world, it's clever.
Sure.
But it's nasty.
It's clickbait.
We got Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney. We got Kate Spade, who also does a lot with Dylan Mulvaney and a bunch of other people too. We got Disney, who just be Disney. They're talking about like, we're gonna remember that
Strange World and everything else.
The old. Did they fire her? I don't know if they did, but basically, she said the VP or president of something. She basically said, "I have one kid who's binary, and one kid who's like gender fluid or whatever, and we're going to push this down people's throat whether they like it or not."
And in that board, in a hot mic moment or something like that.
No, an employee recorded it and then went,
"That's what it was." Yeah,
we launched this mug. So we have all these companies and organizations who, are pushing the gay agenda, and people are talking all the time. It's like, okay, so is this just virtual signaling? Like, why do all these companies have to just change the color of their logos to the gay pride flag? Like, that's supposed to do anything? You got like MLS, Major League Soccer, who all of their jerseys are the gay pride for the month of June.
Sure.
You got the issue with the World Cup where the British captain, he was gonna wear like the love armband with all the rainbows on it, but it was banned from Qatar, so they had a whole stink about that. So, but basically, it's the fact of every company leans into, it looks like they're just virtue signaling, kind of like, oh yeah, we do it too, so don't hate us, don't cancel us. Like, here's what it is. But the question that I have is it just virtual signaling or is it more? And
San Francisco Giants are doing it this year, the baseball team too.
Yep, and LA Dodgers are having the what do they call them, like the gay nuns.
What?
And basically,
okay, I didn't hear that one.
No, dude, no, look it up. Look up LA Dodgers with it. And basically, it's like these gay nuns. I think they have like gay Jesus and like gay something weird with Satan and stuff like that. And
I've heard that, but I didn't know it was the Dodgers.
It's an assault on not just Protestantism, but more on Catholicism.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. LA Dodgers condemned for reinventing anti-Catholic LGBTQ group to Pride Night, vulgar and grotesque. Go pound sand. Dodgers are sending a message that Catholics don't matter. Religious advocate says.
Like that's the thing is it's not just on the fringes anymore.
So I don't know if you guys can see. Well, you're not going to see
but it's aggressive and in your face. And honestly, here's the deal, though.
Drag queens, they're dragging as like very flamboyant nuns.
And it's freaking wild. And honestly, here's the deal: is so much, and that's the thing, so much of America, not just Christians, but so much of America. And I've listened to so many people speak, and they're not Christians at all because you know what? By how many F-bombs they drop. But, they don't like this. But when people stand up, oh, dude, don't get him started. But when people start to stand up against things like this, and not even like violently so, but more just like Hobby Lobby, like, we're going to donate to a Christian cause. We're going to do this. And all of a sudden it's like, and like they're just destroyed and chopped down, and it's so easy for people, and people I think are scared because once you stand up, it's like, you're a homophobe, boop, you're down,
right?
Or it's like, you must hate people, you're down. Oh, Jesus loves everybody, so you should too. And it's just awful. And companies keep doing this over and over and over. And if you watch, every time companies do this, their sales go down. Bud Light lost, 20 million or something like that because of it?
They're in the tank right now. Even their stocks are doing terrible.
Right. And so Target, the same thing. They've had to pull their line. And so people are talking about, we're winning the culture wars. But the thing is if it hurts these businesses to do this, why do they keep doing it? And so is it just virtual signaling, or and will they eventually stop because they're losing profit from their customers? And I learned just today, actually, while researching this, that there is something called a CEI score. All right. So CEI stands for Corporate Equality Index, which is a score overseen by the Human Rights Campaigns. Remember that like blue bumper sticker with like the yellow equal sign?
Yep.
Like back when I was in early high school when that came out.
Yeah.
And so you would have been what, like college? Or no, you would have been in high school. That's right. You're not that much older. But so the Corporate Equality Index is a score, and the score system is overseen by the Human Rights Campaign, which is the largest LGBTQ plus political lobbying group in the world. Now the question is, does this score really matter? Because like I can give scores to businesses. Does this actually score? Does it matter? And the answer is wildly so.
100%.
Yes. And so I have an article that I'm going to read, and I'm actually going to read a lot about it because it's going to I don't want to say it's going to set the stage, but it's going to get our minds thinking about why are companies actually doing this. And I see so many people talking about, we want to hate Target, we want to boycott, but no one is going into the root behind it. So I'm hoping that we might lead the charge a little bit and going, what's the why behind the what? Because we're attacking the what, but if you just keep attacking the what, you don't go after the why, you're not going to win. And so I have a massive article from the New York Post, which is also, I think it's owned by Amazon and Bezos. So it's not even like a right-wing magazine. So I'm not bringing no Fox News in because we know what they're going to say. I want to bring in something that is just a common, known for just being I would say, today's culture magazine. So the article is called Inside the CEI System, Pushing Brands to Endorse Celebs Like Dylan Mulvaney. So you ready for story time with Mark?
Story time with Marc Hyde.
Executives at companies like Nike, Anheuser-Busch, and Kate-Spade, whose brands endorsements have turned controversial trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney into today's woke, quote-unquote, it girl, aren't just virtual signaling. They're handing out lucrative deals to what were once considered fringe celebrities because they have to, or risk failing an all-important social credit score that could make or break their business. At stake is their Corporate Equality Index, or CEI, score, which is overseen by the Human Rights Campaign, which we just talked about, the largest LGBTQ plus political lobbying group in the world. HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, which receives millions from George Soros's Open Society Foundation, among others, issues, you ready? Report cards for America's biggest corporations via the CEI, awarding or subtracting points for how well companies adhere to what the HRC calls its rating criteria. Businesses, and by the way, this article will be in the show notes, businesses that attain the maximum of 100 points total earn the coveted title of Best Place to Work for LGBTQ Equality. Ready for this? 15 out of the top 20 Fortune ranking companies in the world received a 100% rating last year, according to the HRC data. So 15 out of 20 top organizations, maybe not the world, maybe just America, but because China's thinking huge with some of their companies. So I was saying America. So, but they received it 100%. More than 840 U.S. companies racked up. It's hard to read this much, huh?
Racked up high CEI scores.
According to the latest report, the HRC, which was formed in 1980 and started the CEI in 2002, is led by Kelly Robinson, who was named as president in 2022 and worked as a political organizer for Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. The HRC lists 5 major rating criteria, each with its own lengthy subsets for companies to gain or lose CEI points. So this is actually called, not my words, but their woke rating. They call it their woke rating now, okay? Like, this isn't me. This is them. It's their woke rating. So
let's go over it real fast, because we can't read the whole article.
Nope, I'm not reading the whole thing. Nope.
That's infringement rights, but
that's true. But so basically, you can get 5 points possible for workforce protections, which is no discrimination for employees for sexual orientation or gender identity. Inclusive benefits, 50 points. Criteria here includes providing health care for sex couples.
I think it means same-sex couples.
Probably. Supporting an inclusive culture. 25 points includes gender-neutral dress codes and trans-inclusive restrooms and facilities policy. Corporate responsibility, but we're going to get into that, right? Exactly. So corporate social responsibility, which is marketing or advertising to the LGBTQ consumers, which include Nike and Bud Light's Lose of Transgender Spokesman, Dylan Mulvaney. And then responsible citizenship. You ready for this? Negative 25 points deducted if a company gives.
It's called what? Responsible citizenship.
Yep.
Not irresponsible, but responsible.
Correct.
Right, go ahead.
So points deducted if a company gives money to, quote, to organizations whose primary mission includes advocacy against LGBTQ equality, which is not defined but could include Christian groups. That's what they say.
If you give money to a Christian group, you're getting 25 points.
Right. So I looked up Hobby Lobbies.
Way down in the tank?
No, I mean, it's like in the 70s.
Wow.
But probably because they have bathrooms that are just like, you just lock the door and go to the bathroom. Like,
they're like family friendly.
Right, but this is why Chick-fil-A got put through the ringer last year. And that's why they're one of the companies who are not, like, they're a Fortune, like, what, 10 company or whatever? Like, that's where it said only 15 out of 20. Like, Chick-fil-A is one of the top, but they didn't receive the good award because they gave money to Christian groups. So, let's see. I'm going to scroll forward here. All right, so here we go. So all that stuff is the score. It doesn't sit passively either. The HRC sends representative corporations every year telling them what kind of stuff they have to make visible at the company. They give them a list of demands, and if they don't follow through, then there's a threat that you won't keep your CEI score. You might be thinking, why does it actually matter? Well, the CEI is a lesser-known part of the burgeoning ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance, ethical investing movement, increasingly pushed by the country's top 3 investment firms. The 3 biggest investment firms in the entire nation is the ones who are backing this thing up. So the ESG funds invest in companies that oppose fossil fuels, push for unionization. Why you do that, you union?
Because.
And stress racial and gender equality over merit in hiring board selection. And again, these are their New York Post words, not my own. As a result, some American CEOs are more concerned about pleasing BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street Bank, who are among the top shareholders of most American publicly traded corporations, including Nike, Anheuser-Busch, and Kate Spade, than they are about irritating conservatives, numerous sources have told New York Post. And so I'm not going to keep reading the rest of it, but the question is,
it's long,
but it's an amazing, it's an eye-opening read. And
I'm going to go back through and read it myself.
But also bump to the other links that they link inside the article because it's freaking wild. But basically what they're saying in this is they don't care how much money they lose at the consumer level, because even if Bud Light sales are down 20 million, it's not as bad as if this would happen. So if all these companies are not doing what we think is virtual signaling, they lose all of their investor money. And so it's literally, the question is we always like, who are conservatives fighting against, and why are you guys trying to fight against the man? It's because the 3 most powerful investing firms are the ones who are pushing for all of this.
Not only that, they're kind of making policy here in the States.
They are.
If you look at it later on, it says Fink has denied. Fink is a guy that is part of the ESG. has denied ESG as political, but key staff managing his ESG operations worked in the Obama administration and donated to Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. In his first veto, President Joe Biden last month rejected a GOP-backed bill that sought to block ESG investing, especially in pension funds where critics say American retirement funds will be sacrificed to a radical left-wing agenda. That's just crazy. Like, I'm not trying to bring a bunch of politics into this. It's just crazy that they even have the reach, the ESG has reach into the political realm as well.
And this is why I'm glad you changed the title, because originally my title was just like, so can we talk about Target? Because, that's how my voice goes when I ask that question. You're like, no, this is bigger than Target, bro.
This is commercialism.
Here's the thing is, I have watched Instagram videos and TikToks and Twitter videos and rants all about going after just Target. Like, oh, I can't believe Target would do this. Do they not care about us? And we're a bigger demographic. To be honest, they don't give a rip.
Right, because it's not about about the demographic.
So every time you see a company change their logo on social media, they do something new, they do some new shirt line or something like that, it's literally they're fighting to keep their index scores up, because if they keep them up, that means get billions.
It's all about the investors.
Yes.
Not about the demographic.
They don't care.
The consumers.
And that's the thing is, so Target knows it's
well, we turned into like some political finance show just from a couple months off.
This is what happens when Marc and Beth listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey and about our own personal finances, I guess. But they didn't talk about this at all. And that's the thing is when I was starting to research this and study, I thought we were going to just talk about Target and what should Christians do at Target. But not, bro. This conversation is freaking huge.
Yeah, this is a huge conversation.
Because it's not just Target. It's not just Bud Light. But
it's everybody that has investors, really.
Right.
Really, that's what it is.
Exactly. And so this is why we had the conversation of, can you boycott stuff? How should you fight things? How should you do this? Because we have Christians on one side who say, basically, like, we have to go attack. We got to fight. We got to do these things because you got to bring God back into the schools, and we got to bring Jesus back into the culture and all these different things and take over culture with Christianity again, because the Christian culture is better than the other one, which we believe is true. But then there's the other one where it's like, no, we need to make sure we represent ourselves well and we're nice and kind. Let's let them do their thing. They're against the world anyways. We need to make sure we're ready and not deal with these things. So when people come to us, we're ready to have these conversations. And it's almost like, bro, you ain't got no backbone.
Right.
Like, I used to not give a rip about. I was talking with a different buddy of mine who he doesn't have kids, but I do. And he goes, honestly, dude, I can't think about it. It's not the fact that I don't care. They're not Christian, so why would I expect them to? And I said, I thought the same thing until I have a kid. Right. I have lots of kids now who are talking with therapists, and they're in school systems, and they're all these different things. And this is I don't want to say doomsday, because we're not about the doomsday. Wait till we flip the script on your on you fools, but nope. But wait till we flip the script on you guys. But the question is what are we supposed to do with all this?
Well, and to go back to a statement you made about, there's kind of both sides of boycott everything, or no, man, peace, love, and just be a good ambassador, just show the love of Jesus.
Because there is a level of we have to have peace.
That's both sides, right?
Yeah.
That's both extreme sides. And I think you would agree there's a middle ground, right? We can't go burn
down way, according to Madam Secretary.
We can't go burn down Target because we're bringing Christian values back. But at the same time, we can't be like, hey, you do you, boo, and we're just going to love you through it. Like, no, neither one, because we're supposed to be ambassadors to the world. We're supposed to be bringing God's kingdom to the world, to the fallen. We're supposed to be to go. This is the good news.
And so this is the question then. Is so Christians, for all intents and purposes, as Christians, we should not expect unbelievers to act like Christians, because even Jesus said they ain't gonna.
Right.
Paul said they don't know any better. They follow after their father, the devil, because they don't know anything.
Right.
And so why should we expect non-Christians to act like Christians? But the question is this a Christian issue, or is there something bigger, deeper about it?
Well, I think it's both, because if you look at Paul in Romans, right, he's talking about what's the law. What's the law? What was the Torah and the Tanakh for the Jews, right? What was it supposed to be?
It was it was their way to connect with their God and be a set apart different people.
But if everybody could keep the law, Christ even said if you can keep the law perfectly,
yeah, you're good.
You're all right? You've got salvation. You don't need salvation because you kept it perfectly. So what is the law? It's the school teacher. It's the schoolmaster to show us, no, we ain't doing it, which is the same thing that Christians could go, hey, look, I love the way Ray Comfort from Way of the Master does it, right? So he's like, hey, have you ever stolen anything? It doesn't matter about the value. It could have been like worth half a penny. Did you ever steal anything? And it's like, well, and according to the law, then that would make you a thief, which means that you're doomed to hell because you sinned against a great and loving God. So it's not to bash him over the head with the law, but to show that, no, we're all on the same playing field of we all deserve hell and death. And yet Christ came and died for us. There was this bigger plan to save us. And that's where we bring the salvation and the good news message comes into it. And so I think that there's a practical way. I love the way that Pastor Scott says it, right? He says that...
Good old Scott from Southside. Yeah, which he's going on sabbatical for like, what, 3 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Good for him.
But he said, he goes, he learned long ago that that politics needs Christians. That garbage companies need Christians. Why?
Let's go. No, keep going. More No. We need some more. Why steel workers need Christians?
The steel workers need Christians.
Why web designers need Christians?
We all need Christians.
Why people who work at Target need Christians?
Why do McDonald's people, Target people, why do Christians need to be in every aspect of every area? Why? Because we are the ambassadors. We're supposed to not only show Christ, but proclaim Christ into the world. That is our job in every aspect of life. That's our main goal. That was the commission that was given to the disciples, which was passed down to us, that, hey, wherever you are, wherever you go, proclaim my name. And that's why we need to be involved, right? So am I saying, if you work at Target, you should quit Target right now, right? Well, no, because God has you there for a reason. Now, I'm not saying, okay, well, go out and seek these things, because God may not be calling you to go to the bar to preach the gospel, but he may be calling you. He may be calling you to go to the bar and preach the gospel. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got to find their own calling. And I love... So I asked, Scott and I are having a great conversation, which when he comes back from sabbatical, I want to get him on the podcast to talk about a conversation that it's going to be me mediating and you and Scott giving your thoughts, because I've never been a pastor, but you have, and he is. So I asked.
He's one of the realists, man.
I asked, because he goes, I thought of a good topic. Like,
for us?
For us. He thought of a good topic. And I'm like, well, if you
Does he listen? Scott, do you listen?
He doesn't listen. I was
about to say, because you kept stealing our sermon. You kept stealing our podcast stuff for your sermons.
So,
where his commentary?
he brought into the conversation. He goes, yeah, the topic idea I have, which I said it's going to be a 2-parter now. He goes, how do you know when God's calling for your life? Like, what does God ever revoke the calling on your life? Like, if you were called into pastoral ministry, does he ever revoke that calling?
Was he asking about because of me?
No, he wasn't. I don't know where it came from. He goes, he was talking to somebody and it just came up in conversation. I go, well, that's a good, interesting thing. But then I followed up with a question we get asked all the time.
Well,
all the time.
You want to go out to Maine and get some fish?
Yeah, exactly. Of how do you know God's calling you into the ministry, right?
Yep.
And so I asked Pastor Scott, I said, so what's your take on it, right? How did you know you were called in the ministry? He goes, because I could do nothing else. He goes, the calling was so strong on me. I knew no matter what decision, I would never be fully satisfied unless I became a pastor and pastored and a flock and led these people as best I could. So right. So he was saying for him, that's how he felt he was called. He could do nothing else. And I love the way he said that, because if you got to go to Target to preach the gospel and you can't do nothing else because you feel you need to go to Target and preach the gospel, you better go do it, because you're probably being called by God. Now, I would say that has some limitations. We got to put that in a box, because if you go, well, I gotta call in to go burn down Target. Well, no, that doesn't fit goes against the scriptures. What God says. Right. So there is a balance.
And that's why we always say go back to scripture with that.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. So I think there's a balance of both sides when you look at this issue of, should we do this? Should we do that?
But God calls Christians to be Christians.
We are called.
What you're saying.
We are called to be Christians and be Christ to the world. Let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So whether you're boycotting Target, whether you're boycotting whoever, boycott them in the name of Jesus. But do so in such a manner that you show and exuberate the light and love of Jesus, along with preaching the good news to them at the same time.
I think there's a multifaceted thing where now here's the deal, right? So if someone's sitting here listening, I mean, we haven't even got into all the conversation, and I have a lot of Bible verses yet. So let's just keep cruising until it happens, because people apparently like that 2-hour episode we did. Oh my goodness. Dude, people are probably shocked we're still recording right now.
My father-in-law goes, 2 hours? Really? I go, was it 2 hours? I don't remember. I said,
most people like that, which I'm like, we can't do that every week, guys.
Oh, no.
That's why we do 2-parters when it gets too long.
Right, exactly. So anyways, go ahead.
What was I going to say? Wait. Nope, that wasn't what I was going to say. What was I going to say? So there's, we had some talk in the Facebook group about this, where I don't remember who posted. Maybe is it Haley? I'm trying to remember. So what are we supposed to do about Target? And people are jumping in and like they're like, most people are saying like, I'm conflicted because
sure.
it's Target, and if I say no, I'll never shop at Target again, well then don't go to Starbucks, don't go to McDonald's, don't go to Walmart, don't use the post office, don't use FedEx, don't use UPS, don't use your iPhone, don't use your Android, don't use Google.
I think the people that are boycotting, it's more of the in your face.
No. But that's what people are saying. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying people are like, well, if I have to boycott one, how to do all of it? Then there's other people where it's like, nah, screw it. Like that ain't right. Like we're not supposed to celebrate evil, and there's a difference between you supporting things that we shouldn't support versus blatant evil. I think that's where the conversation needs to go.
Sure.
But, I think there's going to be people on both sides, so we do need to show grace. But I do think this is where we need to think through the cultural issues of what it means. At the end of the day, though, to be honest with you, I think it shows that Target does listen to its people, and they pulled their line. Now, the question is, they pulled it out of... Because let's be honest, people a lot of times like to play the victim card in terms of, we want to make sure our employees aren't in danger of what? Social media? Like last time I checked, y'all burned down Minneapolis and y'all were cool with it. Like, what are we talking about when it comes to we fear for our employees? Now, there are some people who are buck wild who should go to jail for vandalism of Target. I don't care 100%. Who you are, if you love Jesus or if you don't.
We don't support it.
No, if you vandalize Target, get your butt in jail. Like that's just walk yourself
in. If you're
in.
destroying somebody else's property, you're sinning. That's just straight
right.
up.
And the Bible trumps your thoughts and your opinions.
Exactly.
And so with that,
and your political views.
100%. The Bible trumps all that. Right. And so with it, should we expect those organizations and those people to support Christian and Christianity? No. And in fact, Christians and Christianity are going to have a target on their back. Hobby Lobby has had a target on his back for years. Chick-fil-A has had a target on his back for a while. But the reason why people are always like, yeah, we hate Chick-fil-A, but then they eat that sandwich and they're like, bruh, we going back for seconds, right? Like, you can't mess with, you can't beat with the best.
It's the Chick-fil-A sauce.
But why are Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A some of the best companies in the world? They're bringing in some of the biggest profits in the world, but they're openly Christian. It's because they intentionally follow Jesus with how their employees act and behave, taking off on Sundays and giving people breaks. They actually pay their people decently well. Like they're not like, Nike was under fire for all the cheap labor over the labor and the slave labor.
Labor.
All these conversations around like, like we need to do this and Christians do this. And it's like, bro, you're hiring slaves to make your shoes for $2 when you're selling them for $300. Like, come on now.
Right.
And so all these companies, and I don't want to say go woke, go broke, because that's not true. If you go woke, you're going to be a freaking billionaire because of these investment companies.
Right. And that's what it is. It's the investing backers more than it is. I mean, it is somewhat the consumer, right?
Right.
It's somewhat the consumer, but with companies that have grown this large, I think it's pretty apparent that they can survive. Oh, yeah. Even though their stocks, I mean, how is Budweiser still in business after the whole Dylan, whatever the heck?
Oh, not Budweiser. That's Bud Light.
Whatever. It's the same. It's
Dylan Mulvaney.
It's Budweiser that produces the Bud Light. I mean, it's a substitute. So to me, it's. They're still in business because they've got investment backers. So they know, okay, after a while, people are going to forget, and these rednecks are going to go, sorry, I'm not.
It's
talking,
true.
But they're going to be the ones, it's just because I think of videos of all the rednecks being like, I'm going to blow up my bush like,
well,
bam,
it's like, that's what Kid Rock did. He turned around and said, Grandpa feeling a little frisky. He turned around and went, his gun.
Well, I've seen him blow it up with Tannerite. It's pretty funny.
Hilarious.
So that's what I think. A bunch of rednecks out in the woods blowing it up. But like, they know eventually that's going to die off, and people are going to go back and buy Bud Light. So they just got to ride it out with the investors.
But they get a higher score, which means they get more M's in their pocketbook, right? Not
exactly.
Just
and so, but I think we should, right? We should always stand for the values of God, right? So I would say if Mark, and I'm not saying this for you personally, I'm just using you as an example, but
that's fair.
Mark, if you feel that by boycotting Target, you are representing Christ well, and that's your conviction, go for it, brother.
100%.
Go for it. I 100% support you. I'm not going to speak evil, but likewise, if I don't feel that same conviction, I would show me some grace, right? Show me some grace that maybe my conviction isn't the same as yours. And but
conversation leads to community.
Right, exactly.
Like why do we, and this is the thing that in our political hotness that we're dealing with is everyone stands up and throws hand grenades and tries to blow everybody up, and no one wants to sit down and just talk.
Well, and there's, we always get back to the
like
same,
one-on-one.
Yeah, we always get back to the same thing. Everybody wants to think that they're the stronger brother, and the brother who's not doing the other thing is the weaker brother, right? It's always the stronger brother, weaker brother argument, right? So Mark, you think I'm the weaker brother because I'm going to Target, but I think you're the weaker brother because you're not going to Target, right? We're both thinking the same thing, rather than just being like, no, we're a brother and we got different convictions right now.
But I think we need to know why.
And I think those conversations, like you said, need to happen. That's what builds the community. It's okay, Mark, why do you feel you don't want to support or go to Target? Like, why are you boycotting?
Seek to understand.
And
try to figure out the thought.
Exactly.
Not to attack, but just listen.
Right, exactly.
But know why you believe in what you're going to do about it.
And it's okay, I think, to be unsettled in your spirit of whether to or to not shop at Target, shop at Adidas, shop at Nike, and shop at wherever, right?
I'm wearing Under Armour pants right now, but I am an Adidas nut.
I'm wearing Under Armour shorts.
Well, because they know. Which side note, did you see that they're looking for new sponsors? They might not be Under Armour anymore after all these years again. Are we going back to Adidas?
Let's go.
But see, but that's the thing is, I only wear Adidas sneaks,
right?
Because that's what fits my foot real good, and they real comfy. Like I wear Adidas all the time.
He always goes in. Those are a nice pair of shoes right there, but those shoes are real comfy.
But seriously, I'm the old man where I found a comfy pair of Adidas. They went on sale, so I bought a second pair and just put them in the closet until I had to wear.
Well, that's just because another 10 years it'll be the New Balance. Velcro.
Jeez. But what are we supposed to do? And that's the other thing. But I'm also I wear North Face. My backpack is a Southern Baptist branded North Face.
Yeah. So I think the Bible should be our guide, right? So we know in the Corinthian church, right, what was happening in the Corinthian culture? Well, it was have sex, drink, and be merry, basically, was the Corinthian.
Ephesus too.
And Ephesus too, right. So, and what does Paul do? No, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't partake in these things, refrain from doing this. No, don't go sleep with your father's wife. That's a big problem here. Like, there's other things people you don't in your do. Family. But, right. Bomb drop. Sorry. Put your hand grenade away. Anyways, but so I think there is something to be said about, yes, we have to stand for certain values. And if we think that by doing that is standing for that value, more power to you. Me with the Target issue, I don't shop there, so I really don't have a dog in this fight, right? So Janelle does pick up orders every once in a while. She can continue to do them. She may not continue to do them.
Target's our spot.
I don't know. I don't know what she's thinking. I'm going to let that be between her and the Lord, right? Of how she feels about it. Mm-hmm. But for me, I don't shop there, so it doesn't really affect me. It doesn't bother me personally. Now, neither does North Face or Adidas or any of those, because I don't wear those. But now, like Walmart, all right, most of my shopping's done at Walmart, and I know that there's things. Starbucks, I know there's things about Starbucks. I know, like you said, it doesn't matter in this world, in this day and age, where you shop. 95%, maybe 96% of places where we all go on a regular basis probably support something that we would say is unbiblical or ungodly. If we really wanted to know, we would do the research. If we wanted to boycott everything, and at that point, get you a big acreage of land. And start growing your food.
There is something to be said about and this is where it gets so hard, because as I'm gonna separate the two for conversation and bring them back.
Sure.
As Nora, why are you calling me? My
Hi,
daughter,
Nora.
My daughter's trying to
Bye,
FaceTime.
Nora.
She does it all the time. Whenever she's having, I'm gonna call Daddy. Boop. Goodness. But so I'm gonna separate the two, Christian and an American, right? So as an American, everyone has the freedom of speech, the freedom of thought, the freedom of religion, and we're able to have these conversations. And as Christians, we know that we are called to love, but we're called to speak the truth in love as well. And so it's hard, because anytime a Christian who stands up to talk about politics, they get shut down as
right-wing nut.
Well, a right-wing nut.
That's typically how we're all viewed if we bring up politics.
But what's the word I'm looking for? It's what's that terminology? It's not colonialism. That's
nationalist.
Yeah, Christian nationalist. It's like, oh, you must be a Christian nationalist. Like, no, I'm not. Right. I'm not at all. I'm standing for we're calling a spade a spade. That's evil. That's gross. That's not science. And that's the other thing too, is some people on the left side, they're like, oh, you don't follow the science as like young Earth guys. It's like, well, y'all don't follow the science with your sex and gender. So it's just, and that's the thing. There's so much hypocrisy on both sides.
There's these things called chromosomes you don't follow.
but both sides of the right wing and the left wing, there's hypocrisy all over the place, because people are willing to put on the altar, like they sacrifice integrity on the altar of re-elections and on money and campaigns. And there's so much side on both sides. And, I listen to people on both sides of the table who aren't Christians. I try very hard to listen. Okay, what do the non-Christians say about this?
Sure.
And the thing that I want to make sure I say this and say this well. Are some Christians called to politics to represent people? Yes. And I do think the problem is in our country, we've been told that if you're a Christian, you have no voice in the political arena because you want to separate church and state, you got it. When in reality, it was not to keep Christians out of the state, it was to keep the state out of the church. Right. But because the Baptists were the ones who asked Thomas Jefferson for that. Look up in your history books, folks.
Yeah, because the problem is that England was making everybody join the Church of England, which they oversaw as
and
the
Lutherans
ruling
with Germany,
right.
And Calvin was, Zwingli was Switzerland, and Calvin was
Germany.
That's right.
No, Luther was Germany.
Zwingli might have been Hungarian. Calvin was Swiss. But yes. Presbyterian.
Anyways, yeah,
Presbyterian
right.
Scotland.
Sure, right.
Ireland, Catholics, and they all killed each other over it. Our history's wild. But the thing is the fact of so many times we're like, oh, you just are now you can't get too. I think Christians can get too political and get too sucked into it where it's destroying it's destroying a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I think people can get too wackadoo crazy about things. But at the same time, the way the American system is designed to work is it's not a democracy where everyone's voice matters. It's you get together, you call representatives for your area, the representatives go. And why can't Christians have representation at all levels?
Well, I think of representation, right? That representative is supposed to represent
its area,
the area, the district, the state, whatever.
And the problem is that there's so many people in the biggest cities in America that the 5 biggest cities run all the things.
Right. Well, so that's where, the American people back in the day did have a voice, right? Yeah. As an American, because the representatives truly did listen.
And now we have voices through Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And I think some people who have voices shouldn't.
We've lost a lot of that nowadays. But I think you're hitting on a very important point, and I think you've hit it, but I'm going to hit it a little bit harder.
Yeah, hit it harder. I'm setting the nail.
You set the nail, and I'll take the cancellation. No, but
whack it.
There's a difference whether you're left wing, right wing, middle. First and foremost, you need to be an ambassador of Christ. You are a Christian, right? You serve a different kingdom, not the kingdom of this world, but the kingdom of heaven. So if in whatever your view may be of politics, or maybe you're not even in America, you're in Canada, you're in Africa,
and I wrote this question down. If you're outside of America, like I know we have people in England and in Finland and
sure. We've got people all over
New Zealand. Can you let us know what you guys think of all these issues as an outside, not not just American? That'd be awesome. Right. But continue.
But yeah, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. You're still dealing with the government that's over you, right? And we see clearly from Paul in Romans 13, there is a sort of subjection that Christians have to give to the authority over them. Now we're in a unique position here in the States, right, where we have a little bit more of a voice.
That's different. But
I think that we have to remember, over everything, we are ambassadors of Christ, right? Over nationalism, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. I mean, typically the conservative, right-wing, nationalists, they do align a little bit better with Christians, but I don't think all of them fully line up with Christians. And I'm thinking of several people who are political figures that I'm not going to name right now that I could say that don't, right, fully. They have a lot of the values, but they don't have all the values of what a Christian should have, nor do any of us. But I think when you're hating on a person across the aisle rather than sharing Jesus with them, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. There's a problem because
but this is where it gets hard though, man. Is because but if you say, "Oh, I'm not trying to hate," but Christianity is offensive.
No, and there's a difference between being offensive, right, and being hateful or spiteful. And I feel like a lot
Westboro Baptists are hateful.
Like exactly, and that's who I'm thinking of they are very much extreme right wing nationalists, right, where they're you're going to hell. You're going to burn.
But what about people like Matt Walsh who intentionally put a target on his back, like What Is the Woman documentary?
Sure.
But he's openly Catholic. Like he is very, very whoa, Catholic.
Sure.
But he goes hard. Like I mean, he does a lot of things. I'm like, that's unkind,
but
bro.
But he doesn't come out and say, well, so there's.
Oh, he does. He calls them idiots.
So there's unloving, yes, but I don't think he hates people. I've heard people go, well, I hate this person. I hate back in the Obama years, right? President Obama.
I hate Obama.
I hate Obama. Yep. I wish he would die. Like, and it's like, as a Christian, Should you feel that way? I'm not here to tell you whether you should or not. This is between you and the Lord, because ultimately it's about your relationship with God. But should we as Christians feel that way towards political opponents or towards companies or towards, CEOs or towards people we work for, people we work with, Christian brothers, Christian sisters, our neighbors? Should we feel this way towards people? Well, I think it's a resounding no. If you look at Scripture, that we should not hate, we should love. If somebody slaps us on one side of our cheek, we should turn our face, open up the other side. If they ask us to go to mile, we should go two. If they ask for our coat, give them your cloak too. There's this constant giving and loving, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. These are the two greatest commandments in which all else fall into. And so I think if we can be political, we can support certain things, we can boycott certain things, but we should always do it with those two commandments in mind. Mm-hmm. Loving God, loving others.
But then coming out of that, there's the practical reality of what we're also living in, where we do have a voice, we're able to vote, we're able to stand up and talk things. I think there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. I think blasting people on social media is not the way to do it for everybody, but I do think there are certain people with certain platforms where that's what their platform is. And you know what? There are people who, in my opinion, they feel called to go do some things that I'm like, oh, heck no. Like there's one guy who goes around, he records going into these churches, and he's not trying to cause a ruckus. He just asks questions and people get mad at him because they're very liberal churches. Right. And so if that's what he feels called to do, to kind of shed some light into that, it's fine. That's not what everyone's called to do. But there's people who are in the political arena who are Christians, and they are called to do that. Daniel was called to be in politics, so go do that. I do think I do think Christians are so scared of being called a Christian nationalist, or I'm just going to say it, we're going to get canceled on accident, or being called a white supremacist because of we're white and now we're Christian, and therefore now we're just racist because of systemic racism, which I do think there are some issues, but we're not going to go into all those today. We just ain't got time. But at the same token, Christians are scared to talk about it, or I don't think when Christians do talk about it, they just don't do it well. But I think, and this is where I want to bring in some of the Bible verse too, because we haven't talked a lot of Bible yet.
Yeah, go ahead and bring them in. Is
when the idea of what are Christians called to do, and when is it time to stand up and speak, and when is it not time to stand up and speak? And I have a bunch of different verses, but I'm just going to read the shorter ones, and then in Romans 12 as well. So I'm going to read the short ones first, and then get into Romans 12. Copy. So Proverbs 3:7 says, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, turn away from evil." We're called to turn, okay? Psalm 37:27, "Depart from evil, do good, so you will abide forever." Psalm 34:14, Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Proverbs 17:15, "He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, both of them are like an abomination to the Lord." So we're going to get some more, but so far what we're seeing is we're called to turn, and we're going to let God deal with them.
Right.
That's what we're reading so far. But in the New Testament, we'll see in Romans 12:9-21, it says this, and this is about this is called Christian ethics. If you look at the pericope on any Bible, it says Christian ethics or Christian living. It says, "Let love be without hypocrisy. Detest evil. Cling to what is good. Love one another deeply as brothers and sisters. Take the lead in honoring one another. Do not lack diligence and zeal. Be fervent in the Lord. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. Be persistent in prayer." I feel like that's a good verse for us to think about in today's culture. "Share with the saints in their needs. Pursue hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless," and you ready? "Do not curse."
Right.
Well, okay, what are we supposed to do with that? "Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud. Instead, associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Do not repay anyone evil for evil." That's what we call vandalizing Target. But "give careful thought to do what is honorable in everyone's eyes. If room," ready, here we go, "as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Friends, do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave room for God's wrath, because it is written, 'Vengeance belongs to me, and I will repay,' says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him some drink. For in doing so, you will heap fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good." So when we see this from Paul, what he's trying to say in this was a letter written to Rome,
right,
the Mecca of the world.
Yes.
the centralized
Very much so.
location of the entire empire
That
by
was
which
the
Christianity was formed.
Right.
And so he's writing to these Christians and saying, you are going to have affliction, because it says, be patient, pray for one another in your afflictions. But in doing such, repay kindness for their evil. So when they're mean to you, you should turn around and be kind to them. Now, I think there's a question of is, at what point do you answer a fool according to their folly versus don't answer a fool
according to his folly, right?
And so I think there is a level of wisdom that we need to have in having those conversations, because even Jesus says, if they don't accept you, just brush your feet off. The disciples, just brush your feet off and go off to the next city. I got them. Or don't cast your pearls before swine. So I think there is a level of, at what point do we just say, y'all so screwed up, we can't even have this conversation?
And I think it's easy to see, right? Well, I say that. In some circumstances, it's easy to see. In the case of when you're talking to somebody, you can see, is their mind actually inquisitive about it? Or is it just they're looking for, it doesn't matter.
For a fight.
It doesn't matter what you say, you're never going to win them over.
And
you're never going to make any sense.
I have a certain person in my family that we don't bring it. Like, I talked to my mom about it. It's like you don't bring it up, because that's literally don't answer a fool unless they bring like what is it?
That's their folly.
It says don't answer a fool unless you basically become an idiot with them. I think is
right.
The Marc translation. Marc Hyde translation.
It's Proverbs.
But we don't bring it up because there's no conversation.
Right. And so I think at that point, that's when you kind of just say, okay. And then at that point, I think you come and you pray for those who do evil against you, right? Or you that's where you heap, doing so you heap fiery coals upon their head by if they're thirsty, give them a drink. You take care of them. You still do right by them. You pray for them, but you don't expect anything out of them.
Right. And I mean, even when you look at I brought all of Isaiah 5. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. Go back and read Isaiah 5, guys. But in verse 20, it says, woe to it doesn't say, go, pity a fool, go Mr. T on their face. It says, woe to those, and whenever it says woe, it means God's coming. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, and substitute darkness for light and light for darkness, who substitute bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And whenever you see a woe passage, whoa. That's like us, that literally saying Jesus going, bruh, it coming. And so in today's culture, I think there's a bit of a double-edged sword, again, that we talked about at the beginning, where as Americans, we do need to be aware of what's happening. There are ways, and I think Christians should be involved in the political arena. Mm-hmm. I think that we should have a voice in it, because that's just America. And once America stops everyone's voices, like, I think the Satanist has just as much a voice in the American political system as Christians do, because that's how America was built. Is that the ideal? No. But is this heaven? No. But from
an American standpoint, that's how you feel.
But here's the yes. But here's the deal, right? A lot of times we look at people and be like, "You need to fix it. You need to fix it. You need to fix it." And I want to turn the finger and go, "But what are you doing?" Right. Because that's the question I have for people who are like, "Well, they just need to do this and this and this." And I'm like, "Okay, so what have you done about it?"
Well, and so in our country, right?
Who's your neighbor?
We can do things. We can vote. We can do stuff like that, right? Those are the ways we can. If you feel
no, I don't. Wrong, I think people can use their platform to talk about these things. You can talk about
it, but if
bring
you
the light, use a blog, go for it.
If you don't have those things and you want to, boycotting is your way of doing it, go for it. Like, that's, as an American, that's your freedom to be able to do that. As a Christian, I would say, and this is my final thought, always check the intentionality of your heart. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it for the benefit? Who's it for the benefit of? Is it for you? Is it for others? Who's it for? And I'm not trying to say which way it is with whatever you do, but just check your intentionality of your heart. Are you being that? Are you loving God? Are you loving others? Are you doing it well? Are you representing Christ well? That's where I'm leaving my thoughts. What do you got?
I think it's okay for Christians to call spades spades, to be honest. And so I think there's different people with different platforms. I think we're using our platform to do certain things. We've had a lot of messages where it says, "Oh, you need to do this. You should do this. I can't believe you guys aren't doing this." Well, A, we don't have a full-time staff, so we can't do a lot of that. But B, also, like, we're not called to do certain things. Like, do we go deep dives into certain topics in the theological world? Yes, but we ain't no Ask Pastor John. We ain't no, like...
R.C. Sproul.
Like that's
Steve
not...
Lawson.
Wayne Grudem. Like,
right.
we're not that type of podcast. Right. And so we have certain platforms and we use it in certain ways. Now, we are going to talk about faith, culture, and society. Today we're talking about culture. But, I do think it's something to say, I don't think it's a bad thing for Christians to say up and call evil evil and say that's evil. Like, honestly, like, I'm going to make a statement. People might not like it. I think it's okay if someone wants to medically transition as an adult from male to female or female to male. Now, I don't think insurance should cover that. I don't think insurance should even touch that bill. But if you want to go do it, you have the freedom to go do it. However, why is it okay you have to get someone's permission to give a kid ibuprofen at school, but you don't have to get a parent's permission to have gender studies therapy for these kids? Why is it okay where you can have these safe houses, which it's a bill, look it up. I think it's in California, Washington, I don't know, where kids can go to these safe houses and say, I'm not safe at home because I'm a kid, and they can remove these kids from these people's homes. And because that's not a safe place for this person, because they're dealing with gender dysphoria, and that's not a safe place for them. So they can take them, they can take the kids away. Like, there are things, and those are evil. Those are bad evil. So I think there's a level of, yes, I think it's okay to call hypocrisy what it is, which is what I'm doing right now. But I also think it's one of those things where we need to fight against what is evil, because evil is evil. And there's a level of, like, science is science, biology is biology. And there's a level of, like, that's not okay. And when you start telling kids, like, just because you don't feel like a boy, that means you're a girl. Or if you're a girl and you don't feel like it, you must be a boy. It's like, that's a load of crap. Because and so we've been teaching our kids at home, hey, so I'd be like, hey, so whatever, kid, are you a boy or you a girl? And they'll say what gender they're. I'll say why, and they'll tell me the very obvious reasons, genetically and physically, why. And then we also go about, well, what about your chromosomes? Oh yeah, they're different. Like, they know they're different.
Sure.
Not like they're different, but like boys and girls are different. And so I'm trying to teach my kids in the home what is good and right, because that's my job as a Christian father. Mm-hmm. That's my job, is to teach my kids, and that's what I'm doing. And I do think it's in the conversations. Don't be scared to say, paint the picture. Don't just say, well, my Bible says this, and no, but it's the fact that you get down to the heart of the issue, because normally when people are having these issues, there's deeper tugs going on in their heart that they're trying to figure out, and they see that this is the solution. We say, no, that's not the solution. Here's the real solution. So I do think it's okay to fight evil in certain realms and in certain arenas, but not at the sake of the gospel either. Because, we're not supposed to have anything in our lives that causes anyone to stumble away from Jesus, albeit at the cross. And so with this conversation, if people are like, man, I just don't know, I just can't go shopping at Target, cool. That's fine. Beth and I were talking, we're like, maybe we just don't go to Target in June. Like, maybe we just don't take the kids to it, and not boycott it, but for the kids' sake. Yeah. Like, maybe we just won't do it, because you know what? Our kids' minds are, they can't understand it. They can't process it yet, and all these things.
Well, so for me, I would push back on one statement that you made, that you said for you're okay with an adult male transitioning.
I mean, I'm not okay with me or my kids, but if someone wants to make that decision, I can't stop them.
I would say that's still evil, right? I would say,
it's still evil.
I'm not okay with it.
Okay,
I can't stop it, and I'm not going to try to stop it.
So let me correct my statement. Is I'm not okay with it,
right?
But
you're not going to.
You're allowed to do that
in this country. You can do that. That's your choice. You could choose sin.
But here's the question.
I want to make it very clear that
and this is where people are going to say, and this is where my brain goes too, is at what point do we call enough enough?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, now we're all of a sudden, like they don't call pedophilia anymore. They call it some nice, okay term, where it's like, oh, that's just how they're wired. That's just how they're built. It's like, no, that's sick. That's called no self-freaking control.
Well, it's going to end up getting to like it. Yeah. I mean, I just read an article the other day about how they're doing temporary wives and their 10-year-old girls over in certain Arab countries.
Shut up.
They marry them for like 6 hours and have their way and then leave. And then they get rid of divorce. That's what they can do in their culture. And to me, I think that's
called not
horrific,
that's
biblically
awful.
Wrong, and just
ethically, morally,
humanly disgusting. Like, it's just, I can't. Yeah.
And that's the thing is this is a question, I think, less about politics and more about ethics is really what it comes down to. And to be honest, the world does not have a godly ethic. The Bible says that, their gods are their gods are their stomach, and their end is destruction, or something like that. Or basically whatever they desire, whatever they want, they do it, and they're going to get destroyed.
Right.
And I think there's a level of Christians that, yes, we can look for the greater hope. We have a living hope in Jesus. We know that woe to them to do evil, but what are we called to do? At one day, we're going to stand before God, and now people who are Christians, who are in the political arena, have to stand up and give an account for what they did in that area, in the same way that you and I have to give an account for whatever world we're living in doing that. But ultimately, we have to give account for ourselves and say, okay, so what did you do? good and faithful servant. I gave you 10 talents.
Yeah.
What'd you do with them? Did you bury them or did you use them?
Right.
And so with this conversation with consumerism, with Target, I don't think we have an answer for the bigger picture thing that's going on with the whole push to give all these companies this. I do think it's okay. And this is the hard thing too, because whenever there's companies out there like Daily Wire's creating, all these other companies are creating, an athlete's about to drop, I don't know who he is, but some athletes supposedly supposed to drop this massive conservative sports line that doesn't take money from these investors. And so it sucks because a lot of times when you do that, they cost like 20 times more than just going to Walmart or Target. So that kind of sucks. But if you have the means and you're able to, sure, support the small business, support the small Christian business, support all these people.
100%.
Like, and there's some people who work with me because I'm a Christian, but there's many people who work with me just because I have a good reputation.
Well, and you're a small business. They'd rather help the little guy.
Right. And that's the reputation I'm trying to have is I'm a Christian first. I have tattoos that are unapologetic Christian. I say it on my website, and not the fact that I'm a Christian, so work with me, but it's the fact of every time I work with somebody, I got Jesus on my sleeve.
Right.
And I have to give an account for that because I'm his ambassador. So what am I going to give account for in whatever realm or arena I find myself? And so if you are in the political arena, if you are in the schoolroom as a teacher in the public school system, that is your arena to shine for Jesus. So what are you going to do about it? And we can't give you that answer, which kind of sucks that we're going to have this conversation, have fun figuring it out. But I do think there's a level of we have to hate evil and cling to what's good and just, do what we can as I don't want to say as Americans to push the cause of Jesus onto everybody. But at the same time, we have an ability in America to have a voice and to change some of these things. So we can... Well, that's why we need to show up at the polls and we need to do these things and we need to vote our consciences.
It's talent. Use your talent well.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, to land the plane, I'm just going to repeat what Paul said, okay? If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you'll heap fiery coals on his head. And don't be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good.
That's the best way to end it right there.
We're rusty.
Rust.
Can I try that again?
Try it again. I think it's yellow.
Yellow.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
If you didn't know, we're professionals, guys.
We're professionals.
Side note, we almost had an interview for this 6:30 hour that we record all about Genesis. So stay in tune for that interview. It's going to be balling, but I'm kind of glad we didn't do that now because this was rusty.
Yeah, we don't want to look too
wait. I'm supposed to be prepared to do the outro music. So okay. All right, so we did fun facts with the cute. We got fun facts. Let's go.
All right, here's the fun fact of the day, which is actually a fun fact I've had in the queue for a couple months now. The fastest gust of wind ever recorded on Earth was 253 miles per hour.
Holy crap.
Hang on to your hats because this isn't your average windstorm. In 1996, a tropical cyclone named Olivia hit off the coast of Barrow Island, Australia, with such a force that it broke an incredible record. According to the Weather Channel, Olivia's eye wall produced 5 extreme 3-second wind gusts, the peak of which was 253 miles per hour gusts, which blew past the previous wind record of 231 miles per hour set in the Mount Washington, New Hampshire back in 1934.
My question is what does that feel like? Okay, so when you're jumping out of a plane and falling down, like you're parachuting,
sure.
Like what would that mile an hour feel like in comparison to that?
I have no idea.
Because like when we get like 30 miles an hour winds, I'm like, bro, Nora's so skinny, she's going to get picked up and whipped out of here real fast.
So when we went to Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area,
was it windy?
We went to the Wonderworks Museum.
And you guys did?
And they had the hurricane wind
the little tube or whatever.
And so I was the only one that did it. My kids didn't want to do it, but when I did it, I think they said it was 90 mile per hour winds.
And this is 3 times that. 4 times that. 3 times that.
It would push you back kind of powerful. So yeah, this is 3 times more.
Yeah, that's wild. That's what else is pretty powerful?
What's that?
Leaving reviews for us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you've been listening for a while, here's the deal, okay? We know because of our stats, we get about 4,000 people who listen to this podcast, which is nuts. The fact that, and we also have, we just looked at it, 1,000 people almost. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers or something like that.
853 on YouTube.
That's not really that close, but on Spotify, we're getting close to 1,000 reviews, which is nuts over there. And on Apple Podcasts, we only have like 120 something like
164
that.
on Apple.
Wow, my numbers are suck. But either way, right. Wherever you leave podcasts, if you're able to, please leave us a review. It helps us get into the ears of people just like you who are trying to find our podcast.
And if you haven't already subscribed to YouTube, go to Real Talk Christian Podcast, hit the little bell notification, subscribe, and you'll be apprised when we drop new episodes and go live every once in a while. We've had the talks of more things coming out. Life's been crazy, so we haven't got it. But go ahead and check that out. And like Mark said, if you haven't left us a review, leave us a review.
Do it.
If you are in need of a Bible, reach out to us. We got a few Bibles left. If you're in need of one, we can send one out to you. We just need a name and an address.
And I checked 974 ratings on Spotify. So we need 26 as of time of recording, guys. So let's get it out there. Let's get after it. Let's help other people find the show and be encouraged in their Christian walk, guys. We love you. We're happy recording again. And we'll see you guys next time. But until then,
take it easy.